been wanting to produce this video ever since I successfully overhauled my toilet. I had a very basic problem which turned into a nightmare, which always seems to be the case. So I thought I'd put this together because it just might help somebody out. They may have one of these issues along the way that I experienced. So the problem with the toilet was I had a slow leak into the bowl. Basically water was trickling into the toilet bowl itself. Obviously that's wasting water, so you want to take care of that. So in my investigation, typically the problem is your flapper. This is what a new flapper looks like. Your flapper, when you pull the handle to flush the toilet, it pulls this chain, the flapper raises up, water goes into the bowl, and then this goes back down afterward. Typically it means this isn't sealing well, so water is still trickling into the bowl. If that's all it is, you replace your flapper and you're good. Easy fix for you. Me, not so easy, because I did not have a flapper to replace. I had a weird contraption which looks like this thing, which I will get to in a moment. So the first thing I decided to do was replace my fill valve. Fill valve on my toilet was the old style. Looks like this, with the hose, and that's where the water comes out there. And it had the floater arm, looks like this. You can see it's been bent, and that was to adjust the amount of water that would fill the tank. I wanted to get rid of that monstrosity and replace it with something a little more up to date and modern. I went with the Fluidmaster toilet fill valve. Looks like this. And once it's in your toilet, it looks like this. That's it right there. And instead of that big floater ball thing, that's all it is. That slides up and down. So to replace that, very straightforward. You're going to want to turn off your water at the source, down there. Then you're going to want to flush your toilet, get all the water out of the tank. Now, when you flush, it will not all get out. There will still be an inch or so of water at the bottom. So use a sponge or a towel to soak all that up. Otherwise, you're going to make a big mess. Because the next thing you're going to do is come back down here and disconnect your water supply hose from the fill valve. Basically, you might need a wrench, but it'll come off fairly easy. Once that's done, there's a nut right here which holds the fill valve to the bowl, or to the tank, sorry. So you'll want to loosen that, and then the whole thing will pop up. You can see what it looks like here, and it has a seal on it as well. Anyway, that comes out. Follow the instructions that came with it. It was very straightforward because you need to adjust the height, but that's, other than that, you just put it back in, tighten the nut at the bottom, and your fill valve is done. If that's all you've got to do, then connect the water supply back up, turn your water on, you're good to go. Me, not so lucky. A lot more I had to do. And the next thing, my flush valve. This was my flush valve. So when you would raise the handle, this would slide up, and then when the tank would fill, that would go down. It was not sealing very properly or very well at all. That's where my issue was. You can't buy these anymore. You can't buy a seal for that. I couldn't even see anything like this in the store. So I had to get rid of my flush valve. Looking that up online, there's a lot more to it than that quick fix of the fill valve. So in order to do that, you have to take the tank off. And you're probably thinking the same thing I was thinking. I don't want to have to do all that. But you know what? It wasn't nearly as bad as I expected it to be. So we've already got the tank empty. The water is completely soaked up out of the tank, so we're not going to make a mess. You're going to come down here and you're going to have some bolts. So my toilet has 3 bolts, one on each side and then another at the back. Your toilet may only have 2. You need to loosen those bolts. Guess what? The tank comes off after that. Very straightforward. I was surprised how easy that was. Find a towel or a soft surface. No, I would recommend a towel. Put it on the floor. Lay this on its back or on its side. Once you've got that done, you're going to have, you'll see something looks like this. It's a rubber seal. That just pops off. You might want to use a flathead screwdriver just to pry it off. Underneath that seal is another locking nut. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you this. This is a picture of the Fluidmaster flush valve. You can see the flapper on there. basically, I know this isn't very clear, but this is the part that goes through the bottom of the tank. And the locking nut goes on there. So that's all you're going to do. Once you've loosened off the other one, pull it out. You stick this back in, tighten it up. That's it. That replaces your flush valve. Once that's back on, make sure you've picked up a new seal. You don't want to use the old one. Make sure that goes back on the bottom well. And you'll need new bolts as well. So when I bought my new seal, it came with 2 new bolts. I had to buy another pack of bolts because I needed 3. Put the tank back on the toilet. Put those, and once that seal's on, of course, then use the new bolts, put them in, tighten them up from the bottom, make sure that the tank gets even, it's leveled when you put it back down. Tighten those bolts up, and then your tank is back in business. You'll need to make sure you reconnect that water supply again, and once you're sure everything's connected up and you've got your flapper on and everything, follow the instructions that came with the parts, turn your water supply back on, and hopefully everything's going to work out well. Now I took it one step further. I wanted to make my toilet a little more economical, and well, obviously you're spending more up front, but I put in a dual flush valve, and that's why I've got a little more going on in my bowl as well. So in order to do that, it's pretty straightforward. You take off your old handle. The one that I bought, I can't remember the name of it right now. Can't remember the name of it. Anyway, it slides over top of your flush valve, and that's what holds it down. And you pull off your flapper, and this just replaces your flapper basically. That's all it is. It looks bigger and it's bulkier. What happens is when you push the first button, only half the water will drain out. When you push the second button, it does a full flush. So depending on what you're flushing down the toilet, that's what you would use. So you're saving water by only using the flush that's necessary. And when all is said and done, you've got all that hooked up. You turn your water back on like I said, and you are done. Hopefully that fixes any of the problems that you had. Anyway, I just wanted, like I said, wanted to do a quick summary of everything I did to show that it can all be done in Overhaul. Follow the instructions that came with the parts, and that's kind of what it will look like when all is said and done. And then you can get rid of all of this junk. Anyway, hope this helped somebody out, and we'll see you again later.